Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan. Welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today's Thursday, April the 30th, 2020. Today, we're going to start with a little bit of information. The Police Abusing Powers Discord server is now up and running. I have been asked a few times about this recently, and finally I can tell you it's ready. Now, I should thank President Trump for the great work in putting it all together for me. I think he's done a fantastic job, and I'm very grateful to you for doing so. Now, before you all rush off to join it, please note that we do have different chat groups from public to more private. The private groups are for those people in Patreon who support the channel, as their Patreon level is directly linked to the Discord levels. However, whatever level you are, you will be able to access all the chat levels below you. Now, personally, I'm still getting to grips with the Discord chat myself in between creating this content for you, but it means that you now have somewhere to chat about things that may not be quite so welcome here on YouTube. I do want to make it clear that harassment or personally attacking people will not be tolerated, and we have moderators who will remove people if this is found to be happening. I'm more than happy for people to disagree with each other, but I will not tolerate sustained harassment or attacks on anyone for any reason. If you're a Patreon supporter, please make sure you go and link your account first so you get your exclusive roles in the server. You should be able to do this by going to Patreon. All Discord members will get instant notifications of new uploads here as well, which is something YouTube seems to be failing on doing. If you're not a Patreon supporter, please click the link in the description for your access to Discord, and we'll see you there. If you don't click that link and join Discord, then I've got to say, little Ted is going to get it. You've been warned. Now, let's get on with today's news. Reports have come in that West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner is a little bit worried that the coronavirus lockdown is going to turn people into criminals. David Jamieson has voiced his fears that jobless young men could turn to crime after the coronavirus pandemic has passed. He said his officers are set for a crime wave over the coming months as people left without jobs after the unprecedented pandemic turned to unlawful activity. Well, maybe you should consider trying to build relationships with the public again now, rather than letting your constables use 15-year-olds as footballs. He warned, I have concerns that we could have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of young people in the West Midlands, particularly young men, who around about June or July find they have no job to go back to, or at least they are going to be unemployed for a considerable period of time. That's a bit sexist, isn't it? Women commit crimes too, you know. What we do know, he says, is that young men on the street with nothing to do who are unemployed equals very often crime of various sorts. We are very much minded of that. Over the next weeks and months, we are going to be putting together a plan of how to tackle it. Here's an idea for you, David. Don't tackle it this way. It'll end very badly for you. And the police constable, who has not been named, decides to punch the lad in the head before kicking him while he's on the floor. Crime rates across the country are currently down by around 20-25%, although there has been a 10% increase in domestic incidents. Now, I say domestic incidents because the police will use domestic violence forms even if it's just an argument. So if you've lost your job and you're a young man, be warned. It looks like West Midlands Police will be targeting you once you're allowed out again. As for young women who have lost their jobs, it seems you've not got anything to worry about, as the police won't be looking out for you committing crimes. An article on the conservatives.global website has spoken out about some of the ridiculousness of the actions of police during this coronavirus lockdown. Andrew Allison, head of campaigns for the Freedom Association, pointed out, much like I have, that most people are in fact sticking to the recommendations. Most people are staying at home and going out with a legitimate reason. I don't like using the words reasonable excuse, as that implies you're already guilty of something. So legitimate reason for me is far better description. He discussed the concerns he has about the snitch lines for people to grass on their neighbours if they think they're flouting their recommendations, and the ridiculous behaviour of the police in their tactics to enforce opinions rather than laws. For example, driving around through parks with loudhailers telling people off for being out. Or in the case of a recent video I put up, parked up en masse, yelling at people just several feet from them through vehicle tannoy systems. Andrew goes on to say Brockwell Park in Brixton, London was in the news recently because residents had the audacity to use it to exercise. In total, around 3,000 people used the park, comfortably fitting into a park of over 125 acres. But that didn't stop Lambeth Council from closing the park the following day. In all the pictures I have seen of people sitting on the grass, all of them were following social distancing rules, but that didn't stop the police, who normally complain they are under-resourced, from walking up to local residents and moving them on. Have they got nothing better to do? Now, I'm pretty sure that's a rhetorical question. I think we already know the answer to that anyway. Now, his closing statement somewhat mirrors my own thoughts. He says, all of us want life to return to as normal as possible. Agreed. But what the police should do, and in most cases appear to be doing, is exercise judgment and common sense. Well, that's debatable. We have been asked to socially distance, avoid going outside when it is not necessary, and when we do leave our homes, stay 2 metres apart. The vast majority of us are doing just that. Agreed. The last thing we need is for the trust in the police to be further eroded by some officers and forces who literally take the law into their own hands and interpret it in the most draconian way possible. Definitely. Unfortunately, I think we may have already crossed that line. Now, I haven't added this article for any political reasons. I don't care what politics someone has, to be quite honest with you. What I do care about, however, is whether that person is for or against our rights as humans and as citizens. This article, which there is more of, simply mirrors my feelings, and I guess in a way it's nice to have confirmation that it's not just me that feels this way. Pictures appeared in the Liverpool Echo recently, along with an article about large groups of young people on bikes in local parks. Now, this has sparked anger amongst residents, with many asking where the parents are. Personally, I'd be asking where the police are. If this is such a problem, why do the police seem to be picking on individuals or couples who are out and about when they're clearly people ignoring the recommendations? One comment on the Liverpool Echo Facebook page from Allison Metcalf said, "My daughter is nearly 16. She doesn't go out because I don't let her. That's my job as a mum." Well, Allison, no, it's not. Your job is not to imprison your children. It's to teach them and educate them, explain the potential dangers, but it certainly isn't to impose your own house arrest on top of the government's house arrest. Andy Day, another resident, agreed, adding they should be getting told to stay home. It's that simple. Well, if people stopped grassing up their neighbours for sitting in their gardens, the police would be able to get out and actually deal with these large groups, wouldn't they? Mayor Joe Anderson said scenes of lots of people gathering in Sefton Park were an insult to the NHS workers who have died trying to keep people alive during the coronavirus crisis. Well, Mayor Joe Anderson, seems like the NHS staff. TikToking and scenes of police ignoring operational guidance when dealing with the public is also an insult. But that's an insult to us, so it doesn't matter to you, does it? He continued, our message is simple. If you go to the park, keep moving. Walk, run and keep your distance. During the COVID crisis, parks, unfortunately, are not a place for stopping and socialising. Well, Joe, I have to disagree with you on that. Of course people can stop in the parks. They can stop in the street. They can stop wherever the hell they like. There is no law or legislation that prevents people from stopping. And as for not socialising, if people want to talk to each other in the park, then what's stopping them from doing just that? If they're observing social distancing, then there again is nothing to stop people from having a chat. By ordering people not to socialise, you're actively increasing the risk of mental health issues, which, as mayor, I'm sure it's not something you should be encouraging. Now, it seems the lockdown is getting a bit too much for some people to bear, with frustrations building so much that they're taking relief any chance they can, even when that relief comes at the wheel of your car. The Staffordshire Police Central Motorway Policing Group had a report from an HGV driver travelling along the M6 motorway by junction 9 of a man who seemed to be having trouble with his gear stick, in what appeared to be a problem getting it out of neutral and into first gear. However, this is not quite as clear cut as it may seem. In fact, the driver was travelling along the M6, pulling himself off. Yes, the frustrated driver at the wheel of his car on the motorway was cracking one out when he was spotted by a driver of an HGV who informed the police. An unmarked unit spotted the male as he drove through junction 7 and quickly interrupted his one-handed session. A spokesperson for the Central Motorway Policing Group tweeted to say, HGV driver informed us that he'd seen a car driver on M6 at Junction 9 masturbating whilst driving. Unmarked police car spotted offender going through Junction 7. His pleasure was short-lived and he was dealt with accordingly. We must point out that it's not only illegal but highly dangerous. One Twitter user questioned as to whether the police could deal with the motorist based solely on the testimony of the lorry driver, also saying, I bet the wanker was still wanking when the cops saw him, just imagine the look of shame on the driver. The police responded that they actually saw the man committing the act themselves when they pulled up alongside him. Greater Manchester Police's Thought Crime Unit seems to be in full swing after asking people on their social media to report friends and family who are engaging in conspiracy theories. During a period in our time when our usual civil liberties are being policed and rescinded like never before, police seem to be pushing the agenda into areas that they have no right to police. Our thoughts, our beliefs are our own, and they're private and they're important to us, whatever they may be it a belief in God, in aliens, in reptilians, in an Orwellian state, in 5G, it doesn't matter. Those beliefs are our own and no one has the right to tell us what we can or can't think. Could it be that the police are finding things a little slow at the moment? Maybe there's not enough people to fine or arrest. Is this something they've come up with on their own, or is it something that is being rolled out across the country? Is it even necessary? The police already have campaigns for reporting radicalisation when people start showing concerning behaviours, but is believing we live on a flat world worth having words with by the police? Is believing that there are reptilians in government and living underground a reason for the police to take time away from investigating real crimes? Manchester Police have since removed the post, but before it was removed, some of the comments answered those questions. How ironic that it was people accused of being conspiracy theorists in the past that actually warned us a totalitarian police state would come. And here it is, replied Paul Nolan-Jones. Do not think for yourself. Do not question what you are told. Trust nothing but what the government tell you, and under no circumstances discuss alternative theories that concern your life or that of your loved ones. If anyone was in doubt about a totalitarian police state path we are being led down at the moment, I suggest that you have a really good think about the above police statement, said Emma Wells. Did you guys actually do any proper police training when you were signed up, or were you handed a copy of George Orwell's 1984 to memorise instead? The thought police are alive and well in 2020. Do you realise what you're doing to society if you're implementing action taken on the above, said Charlotte Binns. Well, all I can say is watch out, flurfers. Luckily, as there's no such thing as earth curvature, the police won't surprise you by coming up over the horizon. PC William Russell, a Kent police constable, had a misconduct hearing on Monday 27th of April following an IOPC investigation into allegations of a breach of police standards of professional behaviour after he slapped a detainee 3 times and made a derogatory comment while the man was in handcuffs and had his head covered with a spit hood. During the IOPC investigation, which concluded in July 2019, there was a review of other officers' body-worn video. Witness statements were taken from them and the relevant national and local police policies and guidelines were studied after a man was arrested in February after assaulting a member of the public and 3 police officers and causing criminal damage. Russell was said to have applied a spit hood and slapped his face 3 times whilst waiting for treatment at a hospital after the detained man swallowed an unknown substance. The IOPC provided its report to the Crown Prosecution Service, who found there was a case to answer for a criminal prosecution. However, PC Russell was acquitted following a trial at Brighton Magistrates Court in December. Following the criminal proceedings, Kent Police arranged PC Russell's gross misconduct hearing. Russell was not proved to have committed gross misconduct, there's a surprise, but was found to have committed misconduct for which he received the final written warning. The IOPC, although initially sent the files to the CPS and admitted watching all the body cam footage before making that request to the CPS, which meant they felt there was evidence enough to find guilt, made a statement afterwards completely contradicting their previous actions. Regional Director Sarah Green said, while there are occasions when the use of force is required, Police officers are entrusted with the power to do so only if it is reasonable and proportionate in the circumstances. Our investigation, which included examining body-worn footage from other officers at the scene, gave a clear insight as to what happened in the Margate Hospital in February 2019. We examined the other officers' behaviour during the incident and felt they used reasonable force when dealing with a violent and aggressive detainee. While PC Russell was acquitted at the criminal trial, Kent Police agreed the officer should face a gross misconduct hearing, and their panel has come to its decision. The community entrusts police to use the powers they have responsibly and appropriately. Most officers do so, but when this doesn't occur, it's important there is independent oversight and accountability, and any lessons to be learned are identified. So, even after seeing the evidence, making your mind up that it should go to the CPS for criminal allegations, even after that fell through, the IOPC backtrack and say we examined the officers' behaviours during the incident and felt they all used reasonable force when dealing with a violent and aggressive detainee. Shocking how organisations simply try and backtrack and hope that nobody notices. Prime Minister Bojo has released a video statement today praising both current police officers and new recruits for their hard work during a coronavirus lockdown. The video, which appeared on Twitter, said that British officers are an incredible weapon in fighting a pandemic. Well, Bojo, I have to concur, they certainly are incredible weapons. He said, I want to congratulate all those new police recruits who have graduated in the last 6 months after their recent training. You police recruits are joining at a time when we're seeing a bravery and devotion of police officers right across the country, carrying on with tough, demanding duties of policing and literally helping to save lives by encouraging people to follow the rules on social distancing. Clearly, Mr. Bojo hasn't been watching YouTube recently, or he would see the utter contempt that most police have for following the guidelines themselves. He continued, thanks to your commitment to protect the people of this country by signing up, we have more than 3,000 extra police officers on our streets. That's more than 3,000 extra police officers fighting crime, keeping people safe, and helping in a current crisis to protect our NHS. I think he means that's 3,000 more police constables willing to ignore public safety. Unless necessary, I must add. Despite the difficulties of training in these changed circumstances, you've risen to the challenge, including learning about social distancing. Quite frankly, our police officers are the best in the world, and I say that not just because of the professionalism, the devotion, the personal courage, the willingness to run towards danger that are the hallmarks of our police, but because of the beating heart of public service that sits under the British police officer's uniform. And today, as we make progress in the fight back against people's freedoms, fight back against coronavirus, I simply want to say thank you for your part in this immense national battle, which together I know we will win. I wish these people in our ivory towers would actually understand that what they're told is not how it is. We complain and our complaints get ignored because people like Bojo and Priti Patel are more willing to take the word of a uniformed thug gang leader than that of their own citizens. Big thank you to Patreon supporters Adi, Audrey, Bill, Carl, Chris, Daniel, Copwatch UK, Danielle, Dave, Dean, Holly, Ian, J, Ian W, Jay, Marty Lad, Misdemeanor, Pig, Stick, Peter, President Trump, Rich, Savas and Stephen. Your help is supporting the channel, is really helping me to continue providing you with this daily content. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials. Good night, all. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video, there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.